Okay, now we're talking to Francois Gossieaux, sorry, from Human 1.0. Francois, tell me a little bit about Human 1.0 and what is that exactly?
Human 1.0 is a consulting, is a customer strategy firm, consulting firm that is focused on helping companies leverage the social as part of the business processes. And then the other part of Human 1.0 is that we're trying to come up with a disruptive business model in the consulting space as well. So not just be a regular consulting company, but have a disruptive model in delivering consulting services.
I have to confess, I read one of your blogs before I sat down.
Yeah.
You talked about not doing it by the numbers. I think one of your recent blogs. And that you have to listen to the quality of the conversation as a metric, rather than just how many likes you get or how many hits you get or how many followers you get. Talk to me about that. I'm curious as how you do it, and is that really practical? I mean, does it scale, that kind of monitoring?
Well, I think that a lot of companies are measuring the wrong things. A lot of companies are sort of focused on what's the engagement, and they're thinking about the how many conversations do we have with our customers? And in reality, the most important conversations that are happening in the marketplace are the conversations that are happening among your customers and prospects. And so it's much more important to understand where those conversations are happening that truly lead to buying decisions, and try to get a seat at those tables where those conversations are happening. And if you ask me how it scales, I think there's a couple of companies that are doing it really well and allowing it to scale. One of them is Xerox, and maybe the king of them all, I think, is IBM, where they're allowing all 300,000 of their employees to create a community about anything they want, with whomever they want, using whichever tools they want. So what are they doing? They're creating opportunities for employees to have conversations with others around their passion. And when you have those tribes sort of form around those passions, at some point in time, buying recommendations are going to happen, right? An example of that is Xerox does the same thing. So Xerox went around and looked for all people within the company that were blogging, part of active in social networks and all that, and they started briefing those guys as if they were press, even though 80% of them were blogging and part of social networks about things that had nothing to do with the company, right? So when I interviewed Chris Saccarone, the CMO at Xerox, she said, the first time we did that, we had an amplification effect like I've never seen before. And I said, that's great, but you got something else too. You got to see that those tables where buying recommendations are being made. If you have the guy who is talking about fly fishing, all of a sudden interrupting his Facebook group to say, hey, I don't usually talk about work, but I'm so proud about what my company has done, and says what they did, and then goes back to fly fishing, the next time somebody needs a recommendation at fly fishing community about imaging products, who do you think they're going to go to? To Xerox. So those are the conversations that are most important, and you need to have a seat at those, and companies don't seem to be focusing on that yet.
It seems so intuitive. Of course, if I'm engaged in a certain product or a certain market, why wouldn't I be listening to people that are talking about that topic? And don't traditional tools, take simple search, aren't you looking for blogs or authors or opinion leaders in a certain interest or a certain area? Isn't that what traditional tools do? How is what you advocate different?
Well, what I advocate is that people will search for stuff, right, to make to find out what others are saying about products and stuff like that. And search is truly important, right? But at the end of the day, what people will do is they will go with buying recommendations that people from their tribes are making. And so it's really important to find the tribal members of your community and trying to have a conversation with those guys. Search, I think, is only a tool. McKinsey says that 60 to 80% of all buying decisions happen without any information from the company being used and without any without anybody from the company being there, right? So where do people get the information? They get it from search. Of course they get it from search. But if I make a search, let's say I'm looking for a car, right? And I'm going to go do research on a car. And I come out that I should buy a Ford. And you and 3 other people are really part of my tribe. So, you're part of my fly fishing tribe, or you're part of my cooking tribe, or part of my professional network, or whatever. And I come to you and I say, I'm thinking of buying a Ford. And all 3 of you are saying, you know what, you should be buying a BMW or a Saab or something like that. I'm going to put away the information that I found through search, and I'm going to follow what you guys are saying. We're a herding species, and we do things that our tribe is doing. We take others' recommendations and others' buying decisions as our own.
Francois, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much.